Hi, I'm Rodney. This is my friend Lopez.
Yeah.
Today we're reviewing Crack Therapy 3 by RXKNephew. RXKNephew is a hot up and coming artist. He's kind of new on the scene. He's dropped quite a few records at this point, but we decided we're going to cover Crack Therapy 3. And I tell you, it was surely an album. What do you have to
I
say
mean, I
about
have a
that before
burrito
we
in my
get into
mouth.
it?
Um, that I saw that he makes a lot of stuff, and that scares me because when people make a lot of stuff, a lot of it is usually not good.
Yeah, and honestly, that idea is kind of proven to us on this track because generally speaking, we weren't very impressed by this record. It's
Oh,
uh,
really?
it's not the worst record that we've heard. We've definitely heard worse.
If I'm drunk, I could listen to this all night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I wouldn't like willingly listen to it again, like in my free time, but like say I was drunk and I wanted to listen to some mediocre to bad music. That I'd probably go for this, even though there are better options out there, like Jada Babe God, 10K Kev,
10K Cav, we love 10K Cav.
w-
Casher Kwan.
Casher Kwan, yeah, all that, Mundo Shoy, all that. So I guess we could just get right into it with track one, American Terrorist.
Which happens to just be the best track
Yeah, this
on the
uh
entire track.
this intro track being 9 minutes long on a less than 30-minute project happened to be the best song on the album. He uh he talks about in this song themes about him getting rich. There are a lot of biblical themes. It talks a lot about money and historical figures coming into play, which is really strange. At one point, he states his confusion about Benjamin Franklin and what he did. He asked, why was his ass on the roof? And then he said, if Christopher Columbus came to his block, he would have gotten shot. It
Which I
was,
think is just amazing.
yeah,
Oh, and he also said that if Santa came down his chimney, he would beat Santa with a hammer,
oh yeah.
which was just, I think, quite amazing.
This track was the best track. It was the longest one, but I think it was the best because it had a lot more comedic
Substance.
value and
No, I think it had
substance.
substance
It did.
because he did go on and talk about like what is there to be scared of if you're gonna die at any point. He was like, I can die in a car wreck, I can die to this and that. You can just die at any point you want. So why would you be scared?
Yeah.
And then he goes on to talk about the religion and stuff like that. Like there's so many different religions, and why would you believe in it?
Exactly. This uh this album kind of has a lot of recurring themes in it, and this one was really like the staple of religion and like death and everything. He even talks about at one point about how the prison system is unjust and prisoners are mistreated and underfed. And then he speaks about how Donald Trump will be unable to stop immigrants from entering America even if he were to build the wall.
Yeah, he said MS-13 was just correct.
Exactly. And then he had some rather interesting bars where he said he used to feel like the chum bucket and he thinks SpongeBob is a bitch. And towards the end of the song, he kind of goes on a long tangent about how he doesn't know why Cash App needs his social security number. And then he goes
And that
on,
he doesn't have it.
yeah, and he doesn't have it. He says, because I might have forgotten it. And I just thought that was a rather niche complaint about Cash App, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, why are you forgetting your school?
Exactly. And he really talks he really talks the talk. He really talks about wanting to make it big in the business apparently. In this line, I'm gonna have 1,800 guns, 30 Audis, and 20 Camaros. Now I gotta say you have to have quite the bank to do that.
I
He,
don't know why you would want. How many was it? How many Audis?
30 Audis.
I don't know why you'd want 30 Audis.
I
This
don't.
doesn't make
He would never be able to drive all of them.
exact. You get bored
And then
letting someone.
at some point he talks about his dark come up dealing drugs in the early 2010s.
Oh,
Specifically back in 2012, I think he said he was
2012 when the
selling
world was
crack.
going to end.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
also stated in 2012 when the world was going to end. Turns
that he
out
was selling crack instead.
he was a believer. He was getting his hustle on before the end of the world. You got anything else to say about track one before we move on?
No, not that I can really think of, and I have nothing to say about the track because
So
next track is
track one, American Terrorist, was it was a good starting point, but unfortunately, it all went downhill from there. It was a good song.
let down repeatedly over and over after.
Track two, called "I Love My Girlfriend," it it has a pretty good beat on it. I don't have much to say about this. It was just a pretty underwhelming song with not
He just
very much substance at all.
he just talks about how his girlfriend is just like him and how they want to rob people together, and he just says like, "I love my girlfriend," and talks
Exactly.
about her not selling pussy because instead of her selling pussy, she is going to rob and judge. Just
Exactly. And this is proven by the chorus being my girlfriend like robbing people. And throughout the song, it's pretty repetitive. He talks about his girlfriend's loyalty to him and their activities, saying she'd take time rather than snitch. It had an okay beat, pretty boring song overall, though. Not much substance to it.
yeah,
Lyrics not really hitting the spot like track one, but it wasn't the worst track on the project. I can give it that. So track three, it's called New Movie. It's it's not the best beat, but it's not the worst beat either. It's just a pretty okay beat. And I'm starting to realize as I'm reading through my notes here that even the beats started to just kind of fall off
dwindle off.
after the first
Yeah.
song. It
Oh, and this one is the start. The new movie is the start of the rest of the album, where every time that he raps, it sounds like he is in a completely empty room.
that's another point. In every song on this track and to the last track, it he is just in an empty warehouse, just rapping through like a phone or something.
Yeah.
The beat was okay. It had some repeating piano notes going in the background over this, loopy trap beat. Not nothing crazy. Uh, he goes on to talk about his wrist being good at whipping it up, implying that he's cooking drugs, which is nice. You're not gonna cook that crack unless you're good at it. So, shout out
Wow.
to him.
He also talks about how his side girl sells pussy. So it kind of takes me back to the "I Love My Girlfriend" song. It's like, do you really love her if your side girl is selling pussy?
Exactly.
Like,
Like, if you have an entire song called "I Love My Girlfriend," why do you even have a side girl? I don't
exactly,
know.
exactly. And she sells pussy.
Exactly. It's a little contradictory. He also states that he loves her, his side girl, which is, I
Yeah,
don't a little bold, but okay.
yeah. I don't think you should be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. He uses threats such as "I'll break your chin if you mess with him." And I'm speaking for myself here, but I wouldn't really want my chin broken for messing with this guy. I don't know, he seems pretty tough after American terrorists talking about killing Christopher Columbus and Santa. But yeah, track three, not the best, not the worst. Pretty okay
Yeah,
track. Pretty decent
it
track.
it was yeah it was very middle of the road.
A little bit boring. Track four, for real, for real.
The
Um,
most repetitive song in
yes,
the entire little album
this is the
that we got
most
here.
extremely repetitive song. We like the idea that he was going
Yeah,
for here. It was a creative idea. Unfortunately, the execution was pretty piss poor. I gotta say.
a lot
The
of like for real, and then rhyming stuff with for real, but just doing it not the way it should be done. It could have just been better.
exactly. Like he could have done it better, but I gotta give him credit because he found an impressive amount of things to rhyme with for real. I don't think I could have come up with that many things. I
That
think that the phrase for real is used more than any actual bars in this song. It's extremely repetitive. I don't like this one at all. This might be my least favorite track on the album. Mediocre beat, lame bars, super repetitive, just not very good. Got anything else to add?
Oh, you pretty much summed it up. That it was just really repetitive. I kind of liked what it was going for at first, but then about you get a quarter halfway into the song, and you're just like, okay, he's keeping going with this for real, and then trying to rhyme stuff with it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
all.
So track 5 is called Skyline Tony Too Good. It has a better beat than previous songs. I gotta say, it was really
I,
on a
yeah,
steady decline from 2, 3, and 4, but 5 really picks up the beat a little more. It has another
it
create.
has really nice piano.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like
It has
that.
a much more creative piano loop more than track 3, which was very lazy and repetitive. But it had a pretty good trap beat over the piano loop as well. I thought the beat was pretty good.
And the bars were nothing too exciting, but it had a good flow to it
Yeah, it
with the
had
piano.
it had a pretty good flow. The bars though, this was about the point in the album where I was realizing that there are incredibly stale, reoccurring themes throughout the entire project, such as violence and murder and women and drugs and
And his
and money.
granny wanting him to be better.
And his granny wanting him to be better.
Yeah.
These themes are in every single song, and it was at this point that I kind of realized that there wasn't much new coming from these. But the beat was improved. He did have a few, more hardcore bars and some more, I don't know, kind of worrying bars. How he said he doesn't know his father and he doesn't want to meet him because he knows that his son is a demon.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
And another
I thought
line,
personally that was an okay part.
yeah, yeah, it's not
Like,
not
who
a
needs
bad
their
part.
father?
Exactly. If you don't want to meet your father, do what you want to do, man.
Exactly.
In another line, he said, "Make the op's daughter watch as I slit his throat," which is pretty
That was a
brutal.
little bit more worrying.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Uh, I like the one where he said, "Can't take no pictures with my gun. I'ma shoot you with it," which is it honestly, it's
It's
pretty.
valid.
Yeah, I like that line because you see people all over the internet just posing with their guns and their money, but you see him on the album cover. He's not aiming a gun at you. He's aiming his money at you. So at the end of the song, he brought up a couple lines where he basically was talking about how he doesn't like people addressing his mental problems because it bothers
Which
him.
we can get back into that on the next song.
Exactly.
I say you leave that there, and on the next song I will talk about
Okay.
addressing the mental problem.
All right, I'll leave that there for now. Track 5, it was an improvement from the previous two. It wasn't too crazy though. It was an okay track.
Yeah,
So
it was okay. He said he practiced safe sex like Easy E, which I mean is good. If his side girl, is selling pussy, if he's practicing safe sex and always wrapping up because he doesn't want to end up like E.
exactly.
That's A. That was a reoccurring thing in the album is that he doesn't want to get A.
I think that's a very I think that's a theme that can speak for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he's the one openly saying, he
Exactly.
doesn't want to get that. He's
He's the
openly
voice of the
stating
people. He's the voice of the people.
exactly. He had a pretty good Tom and Jerry bar, but
Oh
right
yeah.
whenever the bass beat cut off,
Track 6, by the way, is called Take 3. It honestly, I really hated this beat. I thought this beat was pretty shitty and lazy, and it just didn't sound very good. But some of the bars, honestly, I enjoyed some of the bars more than others.
I like the beat when the bass cut off the beat.
Okay,
And
yeah,
he
exactly.
rapped some bars, and then the bass came back, and then
one of his lines states, "Out in the cold, strapped with my heat." I thought that was a pretty nice simple bar. It was a pretty nice one. He's out there trapping in the winter, but he always stays with the heater. And then he talks about how he sees his dead friends and ops whenever he closes his eyes, which is it's a pretty pretty
I'm
worrying
thinking
thing.
that goes with the mental illness because at the end of the song, he says, "They told me to loop it. They told me to loop it." And he continues to talk about these people that told him to loop it, to loop the what he was rapping there at the very end.
Uh-huh.
And and then he starts saying that the voices in his head are the people that told him to loop it.
Oh goodness.
So that is why I wrote down deals with schizophrenia. Because he's hearing and seeing these people that are either not there at all or no longer there, and I think that just maybe shouldn't talk about it because he said he doesn't like it when people do, but I think we need to out
It seems like it should be addressed because it's a pretty troubling theme, and it's more intriguing than the themes of just money, sex, and murder and drugs.
the fact that he's slowly going crazy throughout
Yeah, he is
the album.
he seems to be on a steady mental decline. That might explain why the tracks just kind of decline after track 1.
Maybe.
In the same song, he seems to flex the idea that he pops more drugs than Famous Dex, which Famous Dex, if I recall, was is probably still is pretty fucking addicted to pills and all of that shit.
I think he went to rehab.
Did he?
I think so.
Wow. Well, good for
Maybe.
him.
Yeah,
I
I don't know
doubt
if
that
he
RXKNephew did.
probably not because he's been putting out music heavily.
Exactly. And then for the last note that I have on this track was his Tom and Jerry bar, where he said Tom and Jerry chasing rats. And I just thought that bar was rather amusing, and I thought I'd put it down.
So did I. It just it said it right whenever the bass beat cut off, and it just seemed so good.
Yeah, it just
So
it hit more than the other parts in the song. So that song was okay. It was some good bars, some interesting themes to discuss, but the beat was bad. The beat was bad. On to the last
uh,
track, track 7.
FaceTime no good today.
Exactly. FaceTime, no good today. I
There was reoccurring themes of the rapper Casanova and how he is not gonna be like Casanova, and he's not gonna join gangs like Casanova. So apparently he's not in a gang, just doing his
okay.
own.
He's just kind of
That's good.
freelancing in the streets.
Yeah, freelancing the streets. But he does bring up Famous Dex quite a few times after bringing up Casanova, and says that he feels like Famous Dex. So I kind of think he's a little fan of it,
Yeah, that could be
saying he feels like Famous Dex over and over again, saying,
I mean, that could be implying, his opioid addiction, as referred to in the last song. He feels like
maybe
famous Dex because, every day he's just fucking popping them.
because he was talking about feeling like Famous Dex quite a lot.
Yeah, he seems to have quite a. I don't know if I would call it an idolization, but he seems to have a good picture of famous Dex in his head. Like he seems to like him.
Uh, but he did state that he pops a lot of pills, but he multiple times throughout this entire album has stated that he does not mess with him because he does not want to be tired and
Yeah, he seems to be a little contradictory throughout the album, but I don't know. I don't really know what to believe. But honestly, considering
this
the fact
song
that
was not good to me.
what'd you say?
The song was not good to me.
Okay,
I
track
just
7. He talked a little bit about more important themes, I guess, than other tracks. Not as much as the mental illness and
American terror.
addiction. But
American Terrorist best song.
best song. He talks about falling out with his friends and his partners, and later on he talks about rekindling with his family members because he had been away in the streets for so long. He no, I'm just gonna throw it in there that he also sounds like he's rapping in an empty room in this song too. That didn't leave.
Yeah,
That never
it
left.
it's from new movie for real. Skyline Tony Too Good, Take Three, and FaceTime No Good. All sounds like he is rapping in a completely empty room, so there could be better production on that side.
There could be a lot to improve on. And then there are some strange vocals and ad libs throughout this track, which I don't really know what motivated that because there was nothing like that in the previous tracks on the album. But on the last one, he just kind of, I don't know, threw in some stuff. He spoke about having people doubt he'd be able to make it or do something with his life, and that he did make it, and he proved them all wrong, and he's proud of that.
He is flexing with quite a lot of money. The
Yes, he
album cover,
is.
so
He does
he
seem
might.
to have made it, considering all the albums he produces. And don't get me wrong, while I haven't heard them yet, I'm willing to bet he raps a lot more about selling drugs and robbing people and all of that gist. So I can
Yeah,
understand why he has so much money. At another point later in the song, he talks about his friends that are locked up and will never get out. And ironically, like 30 seconds later in the track, he then talks about how he has no friends, and again, being extremely contradictory to himself. That's just a recurring theme in this album. This is being
unless
very
he's just trying
contradictory.
to imply that they are gone, so he no longer has them.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think of that actually. Because if they're locked up, I mean, like, obviously they're still your friends, but like, you can't hang out with them. You can't really talk to them. Any of
Yeah,
that. This track was okay. It talked about some of his family and friend troubles more than pretty much anything in the album. I'd say the last three tracks kind of tackled some more issues of substance, even though the production might not be very good on them, or the flow or the bars might not be too impressive.
the
But on this,
song in general.
yeah, this last track, it had a decent flow to it, a mediocre beat, and some okay bars. You got anything else to add about this last track or the entire album as a whole?
The entire album, just the empty room. Every song besides the first song really that isn't. They're all kind of the same. They all some of them go into it a little bit more, but they're all really just kind of the same. Besides the first one, American Terrorist, I think.
It was a very impressive intro track, and it honestly set the standards pretty high. Like I enjoyed that, and I had kind of hoped that the rest of the album would put up a
Live up
good
to that.
effort to stand up to it. But unfortunately, even though it was 9 minutes, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. But unfortunately, the rest of the album did kind of disappoint.
So you gonna say your score?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give this album overall a 3 out of 10 or a 30 out of 100 because I wouldn't personally go back and listen to this album, but it is not unlistenable. There's some comedic value in it. There are some themes that you would be able to look into a little bit deeper than it might show on the surface. And there, it really gives you a little bit of an insight of what his life might be like. And it's an okay album. The production could be improved, all of that. I give it a 30 out of 100.
I gave it a 38, just because the production I didn't like it very much. But I did like American Terrorist, so I probably will end up listening to that again, and then listening to other things in this album, and then I'll hear. Whenever you re-listen after a few listens, that's why I'm gonna listen to it again probably.
Yeah, you start hearing things that you didn't hear before, and it might start
Exactly,
sounding a little bit better.
exactly. So 38, close to 40. It's worth like maybe one more listen through, just to see if there's anything I missed. But besides that, not the best. It was all right.
That's fair. All right, well, this has been Rodney and Lopez with our very first album review of Crack. What was it?
Crack Therapy 3.
Crack Therapy 3. We hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you next time.